This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. You suck at lighting. I just want you to all the time.
I'm in my daughter's room right now, so I closed the blinds because I thought it would be better lighting wise.
Yeah. Is there any way you can lean that way to that wall?
Yeah, hold on 1 second.
You're right, and then the light will be, and then that way it looks good. You're like, dude, you're like the only good-looking person on this segment is you. Why would you want them to see my face? You know what I'm saying?
Is this better or worse?
Slightly better. Slightly better.
Let me see what
it could get better if you had a cat, and you were petting it, and you can just act like you were working for Spectre. You know.
Hold on 1 second. Actually, I'm gonna move.
No, that's much better there. That's much better. It's much better.
Much better.
Yes, much better.
All right, let me move.
Yeah, no, I mean when you were sitting down, it was fine.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, dude, we can see you. That's good. Don't worry about it. You don't go completely crazy on me there. There we go. That's fine. It's fine. We can live. There we go. That's beautiful right there. There you go. That's it. That's a GQ cover right there if I've ever seen one.
Perfect. Yeah, so I have like a ring light and all that stuff in my TV setup room, but my daughter's in there right now, so I figured it would be better quiet in this room.
The boss is taking over. So
exactly.
What are you going to do, right? When the boss is taking over, you lose. You know, you
right. I messed up. I told my wife I'm not doing TV today, as far as like working, and she's like, "Okay, well then Layla's going to commandeer your room," and so that's the way it's been.
What are you going to do? Kick her out? No, dude.
No. I just live here. You know, I just live here and pay for the bills. Everything else is they run this.
I know. I've lived it for decades. I know already, bro.
Right.
I know your life. I'm in it. Anyway, although the good thing is, my daughter's out already, so now it's just me and the old lady and a bunch of dogs. So that's the good thing. So it's a little more quiet in my house than yours at this point in time. Nick Needham, he signs his restricted tender, which was expected. And the question I have is, if he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and I was thinking about this, and I was going to talk a little bit about this on the show. Are we looking at a rent-a-player for a year because you're paying so much money to your starting corners?
Yeah.
I almost can't see you giving another big contract to your slot corner, but I can see you drafting and developing another one. Or here's the caveat. They say, Noah, we're going to try to make you a slot corner this year. And you're also going to back up Nick if he needs it. And we might end up grooming you for the future or something. I don't even think he's really suited for the slot, to be honest with you. But I almost feel like the Nick Needham thing, it's great to have him, but enjoy him while you have him, because I think it's kind of a one-year thing because of what's happening on the edges. Your thoughts on that?
Now, that's actually a great point. What's interesting about the slot corner position is it's become more of a starting position. So previously you saw guys not make it under $10 million, even the top slot corners, because you're only playing 50% of the snaps. Now your slot corner is playing 80% of the snaps. And so you got to treat him as such. You saw the way they valued him because they put a second round tender on him, which was, $3.5 million, only like $1.5 million more, but it showed they didn't want to lose him.
Right.
But it's also a position where I think, like you mentioned, with X and Byron Jones there, you're not going to want to pay big money to three guys. I think there's a decent chance if Byron doesn't have a great year that he's going to be expendable. I think that you're already going to see him getting through the third year of his guarantees. There were some type of calls as far as trades before, but now they've guaranteed his contract. So he's set in 2022. But I could imagine a scenario where in 2023, if they got rid of Byron, then they would pay Nick and then have to find another guy that could be an outside corner if it's not Noah. But as of now, assuming if Byron and X are both back, then yeah, I think Nick Needham would get a higher amount of salary on the open market. I don't think the Noah experiment inside it's going to work because I've asked for it for 2 years. Trust me, I've asked a lot of people in that building privately and publicly.
I know.
And
yeah, I know.
It just has not been something they've been interested in. So, and the defensive staff is largely the same. So, Mike McDaniel's a new head coach. So if he really wants to force it, he can, but he's more of that offensive mind. So I don't know if anything changes from Josh Boyer and his staff on making Needham, Noah Igbenogany an inside corner. So I think right now you're probably right on maybe drafting a guy with one of those middle round picks, developing him and hoping that maybe he could fill that Needham role and next year.
Yeah, no, and listen, from what I'm told, Noah doesn't have the hips to play the slot, which is really the key, because you've got to be able to turn either direction, because receivers can turn you in either direction, and you have to have incredible hips.
Right.
When you're on the boundary, you don't need the same thing, because you're actually using the boundary as a defender, so you can actually you don't get spun around.
Right. And the other thing, Big O, about the slot is that the slot, you have to have great instincts, because a lot of it's so quick twitch. And so Noah, I don't want to kill the kid, because like we've talked about, he's only been playing cornerback for 3 or 4 years, and he hasn't been on the field a lot. But he's a longer and lankier guy, so it's really harder. He's longer and lanky. So they brought him in as a developmental corner, which I don't think he should have spent a first round pick on. But regardless, they brought him in as a developmental corner. And a lot of the development is having him learn the nuances of the game, learn different releases, learn how to recognize when a receiver is running this route versus that route. And some of the best slot corners I've covered were so natural in film study and being able to recognize quarterback play, but also being able to break on the ball when they immediately saw it. So as a longer, lankier dude who's athletic, he's fast, he's athletic, but I don't know that he's quick twitch. So I know you want him to fill a role, you want him to be on the field, but I think the best route is to continue to develop him as an outside corner. And if it doesn't work there, I might even try to consider moving him to safety and see if that works for him, as a free safety. So
yeah. Maybe they test him against tight ends and stuff like that now, since he is kind of a taller corner. Maybe they can use him against those kind of guys, and he is athletic. We're going to see him on the field, or he's going to get traded. One of the two. And I don't know how he gets traded unless you can find somebody that liked him also and says, no, we'll give you a second or third or something like that.
Yeah.
If not, you're going to get a late pick, a third day.
Yeah,
so that means,
I doubt you're getting a second or third round pick for Noah.
So that means you're keeping him, and you got to force the development somehow with him over the next 2 years, because you've got to find out about him somehow. You got to do something with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah, you got to. Going into year 3.
Make him a receiver again?
What'd you say? Make him a receiver. They got too many receivers, Big O. That's why they traded Devante Parker.
It's just crazy,
I think Noah, and I don't know if they do this or not, but Noah to me is like one of those perfect change of scenery guys for another. You look at and this is a homework assignment for Dolphins fans. Go look at that 2020 draft that Noah was drafted in, and I promise you there are probably 4 or 5 other players in that draft who haven't worked out so far for whatever reason for their team in the first round or early second round. A lot of times you'll see a swap of different players who haven't worked out, and sometimes a fresh start is what you need. So whether it's a guard or center, or whether it's a defensive end or whatever position, a lot of times you can find something, and maybe he wasn't the right fit here. Maybe another coach can get it out of him. But a lot of times in year 3, you're going to know by training camp. I mean, the Dolphins are going to know by training camp if Noah is going to be able to be a contributor for them or not. And that's a lot of times when you see those type trades where, hey, I'll give you Noah, you give me your struggling defensive end, and we'll call it a swap.
Yeah, no, I'm listen, I'm with you. Let's go over the first round here, where it's at after Austin Jackson, Damon Arnett to the Raiders.
Yeah, he's
Chasen went to the Jaguars, the defensive end.
So he's a guy that would be an interesting name because he struggled in Jacksonville, and so he had a really good first year. He's been struggling there. If they went and drafted like an Aiden Hutchinson, and they have Aiden Hutchinson, the pair with Josh Allen, now Chasen is like the 3rd or 4th defensive end, that might be a move. You might have to throw in like a 6th round pick or something. But that might be a move that I'd be interested in if I was Dolphins.
Yeah, and Hutchinson is going to go so high in this draft. But
Yep.
when I look at him, and then I look at guys that have been drafted in years past, like, like a J.J. Watt or something like that, like, I don't see the dynamic that I've seen from other, like, nasty defensive ends
Yeah.
that have been taken early. You know what I'm saying? In this
Yeah,
draft,
no, I'm 100% with you. Like, even
I'm
Jadeveon
odd.
Clowney with his flaws, he at least had flash, right?
Right.
So this guy does not have much flash.
Injury.
Yeah.
If Jadeveon doesn't suffer that knee injury, we might have seen that nasty ass player that we thought. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job just to fight that knee injury and have a career, dude. I give him a lot of credit in that sense.
Yeah.
But
so I think this draft is like the worst draft I can remember, maybe since the Jake Long draft to have.
But look at this, dude. Jalen Reagor hasn't been great for the Eagles.
That's another guy. You can
Justin
make an easy
Jefferson's
swap.
been awesome. Okay.
Yep.
Kenneth Murray, the linebacker, went to the Chargers.
He's been up and
Cesar
down.
Ruiz.
Yep.
Where's
He's been bouncing up and down. I think he was initially a center. They moved him to guard now. He starts, but he hasn't played super well. So he's another change of scenery guy. So as you notice, everybody has their version of Noah a lot of times in the first round. There's like
Brandon Ayuk. I love him, and hasn't been, what they expect him, but I still like him. Then Jordan Love.
Yep.
Then Jordan Brooks went to the Seahawks, the linebacker.
Yeah,
Patrick Queen has worked out for the Ravens. I like him.
Yes.
Isaiah Wilson, the tackle for the Titans.
Yeah, he definitely has not worked out.
Then Noah to us. Then Jeff Gladney, the DB, went to the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Then Clyde Edwards-Helaire went to the Chiefs, who has played well, but he's had his injuries too.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
T. Higgins to the Bengals, terrific little player. I like him. Michael Pittman to the Colts, excellent player. DeAndre Swift to the Lions. He's
pretty solid player. He's had some injury issues.
Right. Where are we at here? Xavier McKinney, DB to the Giants.
Yeah.
I mean,
he hasn't had a great career so far.
Yeah, right. It's just like
so there's like my whole point is that there's going to be 5 or 6 guys from pick 19 to 40 that you can look and say, hey, your guy hasn't worked out, my guy hasn't worked out.
But you'll find 2 or 3 that will.
Huh?
But you find we named a whole bunch of them that weren't working out, and there were only a couple that were working out. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Again, it's not to justify anything, but here's the part. There's only one thing that pisses me off the most about Noah Monogamy and the periphery. And I'm talking about the periphery is the people talking about him. The kid hasn't played. Right. He's only played a couple of games, dude. And he has 0 experience at that position, bro.
Yep.
He was a receiver at Auburn, and they changed him over to corner. That guy doesn't think like a corner yet. That guy doesn't act like a corner yet. And if he doesn't play, he'll never learn to be a damn corner either at the same time. And that's what I think a lot of people have been very unfair to Noah because they don't give him any benefit of the doubt at all.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's time. You got to give it time, but you also it's a now league. So you got to figure out if can this guy play or not. And that's why sometimes I think there's nothing wrong with a change of scenery. Like you mentioned, and I know there's we talked about a lot of receivers here in Miami, but Jalen Reagor, if you follow Philadelphia, they've been just as disappointed, if not more, on a guy like that, particularly because they took him over Justin Jefferson. He's a guy who, maybe if you want to make a swap there, he becomes your 4th receiver here, lower expectations, and he's a returner. You can uncover some things, and maybe that you have more value of Jalen Reagor as your 4th receiver than Noah as your 4th cornerback. Some of that's just balance, So a lot of these, and I'm just playing spitball. I'm just playing fantasy GM.
Chris, hire Cam. Hire Cam.
I'm just playing fantasy GM, but a lot of times, you never know. And
good idea, by the way. Huh? You pulled something out of your ass right there. That was really good, bro. That was solid, bro. That was like. That you were freestyling there. You're like, if you were in 8 Mile right now, you would have crushed Eminem right now with that rap right there. I'm serious. That's a nice move, Reagor, for Monogamy, and I like that.
And it's one of those trades where nobody's really hurt. Nobody's really upset. It's like, hey, that this guy was going to be backup for us. This guy's going to be backup for us. We'll see if it works out. If it doesn't, then we were in the same position we were before. But maybe it does work out. Maybe Rager fits better here and Noah fits better there. They need a corner. Mike McDaniel said that you never have enough receivers. It's easier to pay Jalen, who's better in space, $2 million than pay Devante $7 million. So,
yeah. No,
why not?
Right.
Why not?
Yeah. And they kept the 51 kid. What's his name that they like a lot as a little sleeper? The DB. What's his name?
Oh, Trill Williams.
So maybe they think he's kind of a little bit of a project that he can step in if you get rid of Noah, so he can then be the next guy in line to take over. So that's something else. All right. Anything else you hearing on the Dolphin end yesterday? Everybody reported. Any nuggets from the reporting?
So the Devante Parker situation was very interesting because I had been talking with people close to him, and they were a little frustrated because there wasn't a lot of offers or calls going in through the league meetings, right? And so the Dolphins essentially let the agent shop him to other teams. And so that's how the Patriots situation came up, where his agent called Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick was like, yeah, we'd have interest, but we hadn't called them. And they met at a pro day. Belichick and Greer talked it over, and that deal came about. And so I thought it was very interesting trading them to a division rival. I think that shows that you either are A, confident that he won't stay healthy enough to hurt you, or B, not worried about where he is at this point of his career to hurt you. So,
and also you have the corners to take him out.
Exactly.
So like most of you have said, X got the best of him in practice anyway.
Right. So you know him. And so they got a 2023 third round pick, which I know a lot of people are making the connection with quarterback, but I think they're really loading up on what's a better draft. A lot of people are trading into 2023 which is a better draft. You just saw Philadelphia, who traded two first round picks for one first round pick for next year's first rounder in a second rounder the year after, because they know that's going to be a better draft, which is interesting because this is a double dip year coming out of COVID, but it's not a very top heavy draft. It's deep. So it's a good draft to have third and fourth and fifth round, sixth round picks, but first rounders, not a lot of splash players. So I think that was something that was very interesting there. I think Devante wanted to be a number one receiver. He was going to be a number 3 or 4 here. So, and the Patriots, he's probably going to be the number one option there. So, we'll see if he can stay healthy, but that's one thing there. And then the Xavien Howard deal, I mentioned it on NFL Network, but a lot of people we talked a lot about X, but I think that his signing sends a message to the locker room. Him and Agba getting both signed, like a lot of times the Dolphins, the last 5 or 10 years, you've seen them sign big free agents outside, from Ndamukong Suh to Eric Flowers recently, and Kyle Van Noy and Byron Jones, a lot of guys outside the building. And so when you sign your own best players, you tell people we reward our guys just as much, if not more, than outside guys. So that's
remember, that was the past. This is now under Chris Greer.
Right.
So these last 3 years, these are his players now, and this is his regime. So he has to send a message that, hey, if you pay your dues for me, then I am going to take care of you. And that's the message he's sending. That's why we can't lump some of that stuff that happened prior to Greer on him. We have to see how he's handled the last 3 years, and it looks like that's his MO, that he wants to take care of his own right now. It seems like it, at least.
Right, absolutely. And the last nugget, I shared this on TV, but I specifically wanted to share this for Dolphins fans because I know they would care about this. But I had a conversation with X, and I think this will be a fun topic for us to debate this summer, especially as we get into training camp. But I was talking to him about Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain, and we were talking about sort of best corners in NFL history. And I was telling him what Surtain said about him, and he was like, "Oh, those are really great corners, man. But before I'm done here, I want to be considered undoubtedly the best corner to ever play at Dolphins uniform." He said, "I don't want to be one of the best. I want to be the best. I want to be a Hall of Famer, and I want to do it here." And we had that conversation like 2 weeks before he signed. And so when he signed, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to share this story," because I felt like for Dolphins fans, it's been a long time since you've had a legend that you can kind of suit up. I guess Cam Wake would be the only one really of this era. You know, if you consider him that.
Taylor and Zach are
right. And I consider Jason Taylor.
And by the way, Sam and Pat too. I would put in there.
Right. But I'm talking about like the last 10 years.
You're
like
right.
Of this decade. Because so he could be that guy. He could be that guy where you're talking about, hey, who's the best player to play over the last decade of the Dolphins? Who's the 2020? If we do the decades version, who's the 2010s or 2020s player of the decade? And there's no reason why that can't be him. So I think he's trying to create a legacy here. And I think that you'll see a guy who, even though he's got a new bag, I think he'll still be motivated to go forward. So I think those are some fun nuggets with the Parker and X deal that you'll see. I think both of those guys are expected to talk tomorrow in press conference. So we'll get a chance to talk to Agba and X on those deals. But they did a lot of moves this season on the offensive side of the ball, which they needed to get better. But I think if that defense side of the ball, that might even be even more of a key this year, because a lot of it's going to be continuity, but also getting better on elements of the core players like X, like Agba, like Jerome Baker, some of these guys, you know, Javon Holland, who I think is going to have a great second year. So all of that is really interesting for me as they kind of shape around this roster.
Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. Catch his work there at the NFL Network. And, of course, you can catch him twice a week here with our KSDTCPA.com Miami Dolphins and NFL report. Cam, as always, appreciate you, my brother. We will talk later on in the week.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Big O. All right, man.
Thank you. You are now in tune with the Wolf Pack.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.